Desiree's Dream by Sylvester Scoforu. Chapter 1. Desiree's Terror. The morning air hung heavy with the promise of a scorching day, but the alley remained a sanctuary shielded from the relentless Alabama sun. Distant cannon fire rumbled, a constant bass note in this symphony of war. Desi's gold curls glistened with a hint of sweat as the humid air tugged at her locks, striving to undo all of Desi's preparation. Her loyal companion, Beauregard, was a boisterous bundle of energy, eager for play despite his war wounds. His deep, throaty barks echoed off the cobblestone path and brick walls as he chased the small ball, a blur of fur and determination. Desi's laughter rang out, a moment of joy amidst the war's gloom. "Get it, Beauregard," she yelled, her voice hinting at her southern drawl. With his scarred face and limping gait, the hound was enthusiastic as he skidded to a halt, his claws clicking on the stones. The ball, a tiny blur, bounced off the wall, teasing him. In his eagerness, Beauregard slipped, his hind legs sprawling out comically as he tried to regain his footing. The alley fell silent for a heartbeat, and then Desi's laughter pealed out again, mixing with Beauregard's embarrassed yelp. "Careful, old friend," she said, her voice softening as she approached the hound. "Here, you've earned a treat." She produced a strip of beef jerky from her pocket, the aroma of smoked meat filling the air. Beauregard took the treat, his shame forgotten, his tail wagging against the wind. Desi's fingers, stained with dirt and the remnants of yesterday's play, stroked his scarred head. Her touch was gentle despite the calluses. This alley, with its damp stones and the faint scent of machine oil, was their haven. Here, Desi's friends, a ragtag bunch, found respite. Candy, the lazy cat, stretched out in a patch of sunlight, her eyes half closed in contentment as Desi's fingers wove through her fur. The pigeons, Sean and Desi, cooed softly from their perch, their feathers shimmering with iridescent hues. Nearby, Bandit, the raccoon, hurried about, his nimble fingers searching for treasures. At the same time, Andre, the pack rat, lurked in the shadows, patiently waiting for humans to sleep or be unintentional and leaving trinkets and coins from their person. And in the shadows, Joe watched, his weathered face and crusty beard creasing into a smile at the sight of Desi's joy. He, too, had found a home here, where his war-torn body and mind could find peace. Desi enjoyed listening to Joe play the banjo and sing folk tunes. When Desi joined in and started to sing, Joe leaned back on the wooden crate, strummed his banjo, tapped his peg leg, and enjoyed Desi's rendition of a song Joe had composed. With its quiet chaos, the alley was a microcosm of life, a sanctuary in a city teetering on the edge. The world beyond may have been uncertain, but at this moment, Desi and her crew found solace, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was room for laughter and the simple joy of a game of fetch. On their way home after a hard day's work, the men from the pulley factory stopped by Desi's box to bring her jerky, fruit, and leftover bread. They were older men and very young boys who failed the training needed for the Army of the South. Desi greeted them with a smile and gave each one a curtsy as they placed their simple gift in her hand. The workers also opened the back gate when they left, so Desi and Joe could use the outhouse in the back of the factory. The pulley factory workers' kindness was a small but significant generosity when resources were scarce. Desi accepted their offerings with gratitude, her fingers brushing against the rough, calloused hands of the men, a silent understanding passing between them. She knew their gestures were not just about the food, they were a way of showing appreciation for the moments of fun she and her furry friends brought to their lives. Desi turned her attention back to the bustling alley as the men departed. The scents of the city, a melange of smoke, sweat, and machine oil, filtered through, but here, it mingled with the aroma of fresh bread and the earthy scent of the nearby garden. This hidden garden, a secret known only to a few, was where Desi often retreated to gather herbs and vegetables, a small luxury in their meager existence. The garden nestled between two buildings destroyed by cannon fire, invisible from the top level of the street. Desi made her way towards the garden, her footsteps light and sure. She hummed an old tune under her breath, a melody she had heard Joe playing on his banjo. The song spoke of a love that endured through hardship, and it resonated with her, serving as a reminder that beauty and affection could thrive even in the direst circumstances. The soil in the garden was rich and dark, a stark contrast to the dusty alley. Desi knelt beside a row of tomatoes, their green orbs glistening with morning dew. She ran her fingers along the vines, a gentle caress, and plucked a few ripe tomatoes, their fragrance potent and sweet. The feel of the warm earth beneath her fingers brought a sense of peace, a connection to a simpler life she had once known. "You've got a green thumb, Missy," a voice startled her. It was Joe, leaning on his crutch, his peg leg tapping softly against the ground. "Those tomatoes are a sight for sore eyes." Desi smiled, turning towards him, her light blue eyes sparkling with mischief. "They're almost as handsome as you, Joe." Her words were playful, and Joe's weathered face broke into a grin. "Flattery won't get you extra helpings, but I might spare a few chords for your sweet voice." Desi laughed, a musical sound that seemed to dance among the plants. "A song and a feast, it seems I'm a lucky girl today." She held up the tomatoes, their vibrant redness contrasting with her pale skin. "I thought we could share these with the others. Maybe even trade some for a fresh catch from the river." Joe nodded, his eyes taking in the bounty she held. "A fine idea, and I know just the fisherman who might be willing to barter. I have some black-eyed peas. All we need is one of those fine onions in your garden. We'll have a proper dinner tonight, one fit for a king." Desi and Joe retreated to their sanctuary as the sun climbed higher. The afternoon heat brought a lull in the activity, and the alley dwellers sought shade, their breathing slow and steady. Exhausted from his morning antics, Beauregard lay sprawled in the shade, his chest rising and falling in a rhythmic slumber. Desi and Joe shared a quiet moment, sitting side by side on an old wooden crate. She cleaned the tomatoes, her fingers nimble as she sliced them, the juice running down her wrists, a sweet, tangy scent rising. Joe tore chunks of bread from a loaf, his weathered fingers moving with practiced ease. Their preparations were a silent collaboration, each was lost in their thoughts, yet connected by the act of creating a simple meal. The afternoon shadows lengthened, and the air grew heavy with anticipation. The fresh aroma of tomatoes and bread mingled, a tantalizing promise of the feast to come as the sun descended, painting the sky with hues of amber and crimson. Desi and Joe's feast was ready, a spread fit for their small but mighty family. As they ate, the alley came alive with the sounds of their friends, a chorus of barks, meows, and coos, each creature adding to the symphony of their shared meal. It was a moment of unity, a celebration of life in the face of war, where love and laughter reigned supreme. As Beauregard licked the metal plates, Desi smiled and said humorously, "Good boy. Now we don't have to clean it." Joe's laugh echoed through the alley as it was his turn to do the dishes. Desi gazed around, her eyes fixed on the now silent factory. The air clears once thick with soot from the smokestacks, revealing a hazy afternoon sky. With deliberate movements, she leans against the wall and reaches for her trusted broom, its handle worn smooth by years of labor. Desi begins her daily ritual, sweeping away the remnants of the day's activities. The bristles sweep across the cobblestones, stirring up the dirt and creating a miniature dust storm in her wake. The broom's bristles against the alley floor created a rhythmic, soothing melody, starkly contrasting the cacophony of the city's usual chaos. In this small corner, Desi rules with her broom as her wand. She takes pride in her work, each sweep a careful, calculated move. Her eyes scan the ground, searching for any signs of trash or debris, ensuring her domain remains pristine. A faint smile plays on her lips as she imagines the world beyond her alley, a world she keeps at bay with each sweep of her broom. Desi's effortless grace contrasted with the meticulous task. Her slender form, enveloped in a faded gray dress, glided across the cobblestones as she swept, each movement purposeful yet fluid. Joe, perched on an old wooden crate, carved a wooden horse out of a chunk of oak. His eye jumped from the carving to Desi, fixated on her every move, his piercing gaze amplified by the intensity of his solitary good eye. A mischievous smirk played on his weathered face as if he could predict the impending future. Desi's golden curls, bouncing gently with each stroke of the broom, framed her cheeks, which now bore a hint of pink, a mixture of exertion and anticipation. The soft, rhythmic brushing of bristles against the cobblestones accompanied her progress, creating a soothing soundtrack to their playful rivalry. As she neared Joe, the pile of dirt before her broomstick grew, forming a miniature mound. Suddenly, with a swift motion, Desi pushed the dirt toward Joe, her sheepish grin transforming into a mischievous smile. Joe, caught up in his carving, had given her the perfect opportunity. He was engrossed in transforming the simple piece of wood into a majestic horse, his gnarled fingers moving with surprising agility. But the tranquility was short-lived as Desi's actions broke the silence. The dirt exploded in a cloud, enveloping Joe and his woodworking project. Coughing and sputtering, Joe emerged, his gray beard now sprinkled with dust, his single eye widening in playful outrage. Desi's laughter rang out, a musical cacophony, as she abandoned the broom, its pine needle bristles still quivering from the force of her sweep. Without hesitation, Joe sprang from his seat, his wooden leg and crutch providing an unusual rhythm to his pursuit. The air filled with the sound of his determined footsteps and the playful snarls that escaped his lips. Desi's fragile figure weaved through the alley, her laughter intertwining with the barking of Beauregard, who joined in the chase, adding to the symphony of movement and joy. The alleyway became their playground, with each twist and turn filling the air with Desi's giggles, Joe's laughter, and the scuffling of his foot and peg leg. Beauregard's barks echoed off the brick walls, joining the chorus of their playful escapade. The scene, a blur of motion and joy, captured the essence of their friendship, defined by shared moments of spontaneous, uninhibited joy. Suddenly, Desi braced herself against the wall, jolted by a vibration beneath her feet. The ground shook violently, and strong wind gusts pressed her dress against her petite body. She staggers, disoriented, as dust and debris envelop her. The air fills with the panicked shouts of people fleeing the unexpected storm. Joe fell on the cobblestones and struck his head. With his forehead bleeding, he crawled and hid behind a large crate. Desi braced herself, leaning into the wind, terrified, but quickly found her bearings and scrambled back to her box, diving inside and frantically covering the entrance with a blanket. The world outside transforms into a hellish landscape of fire and smoke. The air was thick with the acrid stench of burning buildings and the sharp tang of gunpowder. A red cloud looms, feeding on the fires across the city. All her alley friends left in a flash except Beauregard and Candy, as they trembled in Desi's box with her. The year 1865 weighs heavily on the scarred city of Mobile. Once a vibrant, bustling seaport, it now lies battered and bruised. The aftermath of a devastating explosion from a two-block warehouse storing munitions had laid waste to the city center. Yet, amidst the ruins, a resilient soul endures. Catherine Desiree Fournier, an 8-year-old little girl of French heritage, calls this ravaged place home. Orphaned by the war, she had found refuge in the alley. With only 2 dresses to her name, both worn and tattered, Desi takes great care in maintaining her appearance. She spent many hours squatting by the river's edge, diligently scrubbing her garments against a smooth rock. The sun glints off the water, casting dappled light on the fabric as Desi beats the dust and dirt from her clothes. She sometimes rested, admiring her reflection in the calm water, making faces and giggling, which helped her cope with the uncertainty in her world. Beauregard, Desi's faithful hound, kept a watchful gaze on her, his tail wagging slowly as he convinced himself he was her protector. But the moment they reached the river, his attention turns to the seagulls. He chases the birds with enthusiastic barks as they glide out of reach effortlessly. Desi's laughter filled the air as she watched her companion's playful pursuit, his depth perception failing him each time. The days passed slowly for Desi, and she found solace in the company of Candy, her lazy cat, reading the fairy book she discovered in the square. Curled up with Candy by her side, Desi reads about magical worlds and dreams of donning transparent wings and soaring above the damaged city and bay, seeing the destruction from a bird's-eye view. She flew over the bay and watched the schools of mullet jumping out of the water and splashing down again in the Mobile River. She pictured herself flying into pastry shops, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she hovered over all the cakes and pies, swooping down and tasting each sweet. Finally, she rested on the Boston cream pie and felt her feet sink into the fluffy cream atop the treat. She took a bite of the cherry on top and tried to cover it by rubbing cream on the split in the opening. The fairy book was Desi's most prized possession, with its delicate, yellowed pages and intricate illustrations. It represents hope and wonder in a world where Desi roams the streets, begging for pennies and selling the trinkets Andre and Bandit supplied her. The days were long and challenging, but her resilient spirit kept her going. As the fading light darkening from the explosion enveloped the city, Desi found solace in the fading echoes of the fire wagon's bells, a haunting melody that had guided her through the long, tumultuous minutes. The air, heavy with the spicy scent of gunpowder, was a cruel reminder of the chaos that had engulfed her world. Yet, amidst the rubble, a familiar tune reached her, a sweet serenade of the harmonious voices of Sean and Desi echoing through the alleyway. Desi's curiosity stirred. She lifted the blanket and cautiously peered out from her meager sanctuary, her eyes adjusting to the beaming light. At the alley's entrance, a procession of strangers, their faces and garments smudged with soot, walked with vacant stares. Their eyes, devoid of life, mirrored the torment they had endured, each step a testament to their survival. Candy, stretching her limbs, yawned lazily before stepping out, while Beauregard, ever the adventurer, trotted ahead, his tail high with excitement. Desi emerged, squinting against the glare of the setting sun. The alley, once a sanctuary, now stood as a testament to the cruelty of fate. Desi slowly walked to the alley entrance, followed by her two companions. The trees towered proudly on one side, their leaves whispering tales of a more peaceful era. In stark contrast, the other side lay barren, its branches skeletal and broken, a grim reminder of the fire's wrath. Smoke billowed from the smoldering remains of buildings, casting a dark haze across the sky. Cinders, like fallen stars, drifted downward, blanketing the scorched earth. Desi's heart constricted as she beheld the ruin of her city, once vibrant and alive. A tear, a solitary messenger of her sorrow, traced a path down her grimy cheek, its path a stark contrast to her dirty face. Her sob, a mournful cry, resonated through the debris, drawing the attention of a nearby soldier. The soldier navigated the debris-filled path, his boots crunching on the shattered remnants of what was once a thriving street. He approached Desi, who stood small and vulnerable, her loyal cat and dog by her side. Startled by his sudden appearance, Desi stepped back, but Beauregard's protective growl turned to a whimper as the soldier's kind intent became apparent. Kneeling, the soldier offered a canteen, his eyes meeting Desi's. She accepted, her parched throat finding solace in the cool liquid. He tenderly wiped away the grime with a damp handkerchief, uncovering her sun-kissed skin and grateful gaze. The soldier's whispered words carried a sense of urgency, his breath mingling with the smoke-filled air. "This place," he began, eyes scanning the chaotic scene, "is no longer safe. You must go, child. Where might your home be?" Desi, her young face smudged with soot and tears, pointed down the road, her voice trembling. "There, by the pulley factory. That's my home." The factory's tall silhouette loomed in the distance, its once busy machinery now silent amidst the destruction. Desi rose to her feet with a determination that belied her age, her small hands clenching into fists. I understand. I'll wait there. As Desi ventured out, the streets came to life grimly. The air carried the acrid smell of burnt wood and the distant cries of survivors.